Welcome to the Inspired Evolution, and it is such a treat to be here today, and you're about to find out why, because we've got Niraj Naik. Niraj, how are you, brother?
Amazing. I think you just set the mood already from the start.
I'm glad you're still sitting here. And then just like, what the, and walked out. For those tuning into Niraj's vibe for the first time, right? So Niraj is a qualified pharmacist from the UK, and from there he turned holistic wellness expert, which I cannot wait to dive into this story. He did this after healing himself from a chronic illness using yoga, pranayama, Ayurvedic practices, and then he felt motivated to share his knowledge with suffering patients. He started what is now called the Renegade Pharmacist, and that is thriving. Please check it out, renegadepharmacist.com. This became his voice to prescribe the truth, as he puts it. He educates readers about science behind popular holistic healing methods like breathwork, sauna, and natural medicines. He started SOMA Breath, somabreath.com. Check that out as well, please. It's about a movement, right? So it's inviting people to heal traumas, illnesses, and reaching peak ecstatic states through the power of breath, right? So really moving stuff from inside. Niraj is also a prolific musician. I love this. Innovated his own style of music therapy and brainwave entrainment called tripneural. That is used to wellness centers around the world, including the soundtrack of therapists like leading therapists like Marissa Peer, Wim Hof. They've put his tripneural beats onto their training. So awesome work. Such a gift to have you here today.
Thank you, bro. Nice.
Tell me, normally I like to start a podcast nice and lighthearted, but I know our vibe, it's gonna be fun no matter what. So I want to start right from there. So you became a pharmacist. Was that always just going to be what you were going to be?
No, so I like the way you start the podcast with that big intro. Like that's the state I used to feel a lot when I was younger. When I was running raves, I was a DJ, I was a musician. I was like living the dream at a very young age. But then I lost everything. You know, it was a little too much self-indulgence, too much partying, around the wrong negative energy of the music industry, and I ended up losing my first business overnight and got plunged into this career as a pharmacist, because that's what I did at university. And I was just dead. I lost my soul. I was like literally 10% of who I used to be. My energy was just completely shattered. And I saw a lot of problems in the healthcare system as a pharmacist. I just saw people going away with shopping bags full of drugs every single day. Yeah. You know, literally I felt helpless. There was a reason I did the degree in the first place, was because I felt it was some way of giving back as a spiritual thing. You know, it was not just because my parents and Indian parents want their kids to be.
It wasn't just because I was brown.
It was an inkling of, I thought this would be a good
service
thing to do, something to fall back on as well. I really want to be a musician and DJ, but basically this was probably the best thing that happened to me. This going into this rat race was probably the best thing that happened to me, because I saw the other side, what people on a much bigger scale have to endure on a day-to-day basis. And this was my first insight into literally the system, the healthcare system, how broken it is, how suppressing it is, how it conditions people towards this lifestyle where they're dependent on the state, the government, and literally they have a mortgage, a contract, which what mortgage means, to death. Yeah. Where they have the 2.4.
Mortgage means till death.
That's what it means. There's a contract to death. So you're perpetually in debt, and a job just over broke, that's what it stands for, keeps you basically in that state. And this is what I was seeing, and I just couldn't understand how people could accept this way of life. And being like a renegade spirit, I wanted to do something about it. And there was a turning point in my life. I literally crashed and burned. I went into the nightclub world. I spent a lot of time just downing my sorrows on the weekends, and then eventually got taken kicking and screaming by a friend to a Tony Robbins seminar. And this was a big catalyst for me, because this is the first time I ever saw anything remotely like personal development,
transformative, right?
Transformative.
Yeah. He's such an integral catalyst for so many people.
And basically, the last day, it talks all about health, and he talked about how you can use diet to change the state, physical health. And then this gave me this big aha moment. I was like, holy shit, wow. And literally in a pharmacy, you only have 1 or 2 minutes with a patient. Yeah. So in order to deliver this knowledge to them, which I just discovered, I came up with a system of writing healthy shopping lists. So I'd write like healthy shopping is based on the conditions, and I would like tell them this analogy that your body is just like a car engine, and you've been putting the wrong fuel into the engine. It's like putting diesel into a petrol engine.
Right.
And here's the right fuel. Boom, take this. And those would go over to the supermarket and follow my advice, which was very simple. Had
So they
amazing
go to the
shifts.
pharmacy, but they'd end up with a grocery list.
It was amazing.
Yes!
And I actually got
I love you.
I actually got fired from my first job because of that. And they didn't like it. They thought I was mismanaging the pharmacy and people weren't buying the stuff.
Yeah, it was bad for revenue.
Yeah, but then I actually got promoted to the head office of Walmart. Now, Walmart has a pharmacy and a supermarket in one place. So they actually, I came up with a clever system of delivering healthy shoppiness on their channel where they'd get food delivered to their home directly.
Brilliant.
It would have been brilliant. It would have helped millions. However, they then realized later on that they called an emergency meeting that this idea was way too controversial, and that it would mean that they may lose profits of stuff that actually is what makes them all the money but makes everyone sick.
The markup on pharmaceuticals
which
is
all
greater
the-
than groceries.
Yeah, all the confectionery, the fizzy drinks, all that stuff. So basically then they shelved the idea, and I was faced with going back to the old profession that I worked so hard to escape from.
Yeah.
And I felt this complete disconnection from spirit,
Yeah.
from God. And I just crashed and went into severe depression, and then got actually like a lightning bolt, a chronic illness struck me called ulcerative colitis, and it left me housebound for literally a year. And it was horrible. Like, I couldn't go out because I was shitting blood 40 times a day.
Jesus.
It's called ulcerative colitis.
And those, for those that are listening in, like those that know Niraj, he moves a lot.
Yeah,
I have not seen you.
Can you imagine?
I cannot imagine.
Being
I
in my
actually
bedroom.
cannot imagine, bro. I cannot imagine you were confined to your house for a year.
Well, my life revolved around a toilet seat. It was that bad. And so then what happened was by stroke of absolute sheer fate, I don't know where this divine intervention came from, but this very now close friend of our family, Swami Ambikananda, who's a spiritual yoga teacher, a spiritual leader in the UK, she happens to be a friend of our family. She came over and said to me, look, you've got a gift. If you can heal yourself now, you will be such a role model to other people. And she basically told me the fundamentals of pranayama, yoga and Ayurveda in order to get myself back into balance. Like, these spiritual practices are all about restoring spiritual balance. Spiritual balance is just, spirit means where your balance of your energy has gone off, has gone out of whack. So it's like using transformative techniques like breath control, using meditation, and all of these things to restore balance. So she taught me these techniques. Literally within a few months, I was back to normal again. I was like total evangelist. I was like, right, I need to find out why does this work? What is it about it? I wanted to go deep. And that was the beginning of my journey. That's when I created the meditation music business, because music is a very powerful way of restoring balance and harmony in the body, especially with using the right frequencies and rhythms. And I went back into listening to all the ancient ragas and Indian music and all the intonations.
So beautiful.
And created this therapeutic music, which I composed actually with a doctor, a friend of mine who's an amazing guitarist. And we made the first music that then became my first online business, based around my passion, because I read the 4-Hour Workweek.
Yes,
a lot of
another massive catalyst for many people.
Totally transitioned me into like a location independent business. And then I started to get really deep into things like manifesting and law of attraction, because I'd seen that all of these things that people are trying to tell you in law of attraction, manifest, and all this stuff, the root method, the real way of doing it successfully, actually comes from these ancient esoteric traditions, like meditation and tantra and breathwork, pranayama. So that led me to then basically create music for some of the most amazing therapists, like people like Wim Hof. I mean, how I met him is a whole another crazy story, And then I ended up living in Koh Phangan. Now we run Conscious Music Festival there. We've done 3 this year. We're going to be doing another, we're going to start with a 2-day, and then we're going to move into a 4-day conscious festival where we have all these ecstatic arts, I call them, all designed to help people transform and reach these ecstatic states, these peak states.
Amazing, man. There is so much interwoven in there, and I love how it's all centered around health and wellness. Like, it's such a massive passion of mine, but you're like living and walking so much in and around that. There was one particular point where you mentioned, like, because I'm fascinated by Ayurveda, and you mentioned you're like this guru that was affiliated to your family, right? Ambikananda?
Yeah.
Did I say that right? Yeah, perfect. So how did, like, what do you think, was it because you were so dire at that point into your illness that you were ready to try absolutely anything? Or was it because perhaps culturally you're like, oh, maybe this will work and I'll give it a shot? Like, because I know personally from my experience, like, the shifts are more gradual. Like you said, 3 months, but like when you're going through something, like with Western medicine, it's like, boom, I want my symptoms relieved now.
Yeah.
But with something like Ayurveda, you make the shift, and 3 months, is rapid time in terms of healing and wellness. But when you're actually interfacing with like the day to day, it's like, like seeing a shift that takes 2 weeks to occur or months to occur. That can almost like bring up stuff for you in terms of like, is it even working? So I sort of want to understand the process.
This is such a good question, because like if you look at it on a surface, right, there's a lot of dogma with all of these rituals, and a lot of people still stay in the realms of dogma, which is like, oh, you must like meditate on each one of these chakras in a certain time of the day according to the lunar cycle, blah blah, and bow 5 times a day to Hanuman, or all that kind of dogmatic stuff. I was like, okay,
overly ritualized.
I was a little bit like, okay, these things are all very dogmatic, all huffy fluffy stuff when I was growing up. And then obviously the stress meant I needed to see real evidence to really believe in it, because what happened was the doctors gave me 2 choices. They were like, literally, you're either going to be a guinea pig for a drug that hasn't interested yet, or you're going to have your colon removed. So it was really a do or die situation.
Jesus.
And my Swami, she's not one of these dogmatic gurus. She's very much about the science and evidence. And the way I learned these techniques, and me being curious as a scientist, wanted to go and delve deep into the mechanics of why. And once I realized the why, the mechanics, that was it. I was like, right, I'm in this, and I want to hack this. I want to make this even work faster, and use whatever other techniques that I can bring into it to make it work faster. So music became a cool part of that. And boom, that was it. Then I became a believer. When I saw that there was other people out there who've already, it wasn't just me, there's other people. I researched and saw lots of people would use things like pranayama and Ayurveda to heal themselves. I saw those case studies, I focused on them, ignored all the naysayers, and got stripped away all the dogma, and boom, I created a much more fine-tuned version of the truth.
I love that. And it's always like, consistently I found it's like people's greatest, like in Inspired Evolution, there's like a few things that have just been like, where as soon as you get meta on an episode, it's really hard to ignore, is that like your greatest challenge, invariably, you mentioned this, becomes your greatest gift. You know, it's like you said, it was such a blessing, even though it was such a rough time, and I really respect you sharing that story in that way. So thank you for going there. I'm absolutely like, I don't know, there's just something about the fact that you rock breathwork. Like, like your breathwork is deep, your breathwork's profound, it is raved about, like literally all over the world. And then your beats are awesome.
Thanks, man.
And they're literally rocked all around the world, First of all, congratulations, obviously in order, like, obviously I see the authenticity in behind the mission behind, and like the why everybody's being exposed to that now. And that's why obviously I am a big believer that once you're authentic or you're aligned with your why, everything just opens and flows naturally.
Totally, man. Yeah.
But I'd love to sort of see, like, do you ever facilitate like a breathwork session with your own beats, and sort of just look back and go, like, how did this just become curated so perfectly?
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? It's like kind of. Well, I don't believe that I've done anything. I'm just a conduit. And like a channel. I mean, that's another way of looking at the world. Do you really have true will, a free will? Or is it, what is it? Are we just robots running out programs? I do believe we can cultivate a sense of free will. And that we are conscious. I'm consciously aware that I've been guided into this position because of also suffering a lot. So I've seen both sides, and that therefore I can tell the story and inspire other people. And through that, my art has become refined. So every artist, I believe, must suffer a little bit in order to really make valuable art. Like every artist I know has been through some crazy shit, and the ones who are really good have been through some early traumas in their life, or have done later on in life, and that's where they see into the other. That the stress has forced them to look outside of the box. They're no longer just copying somebody else's art. Their brains changed. The brain changed, and it evolved, through inspired evolution, right, to create a new way of looking at the world, new way of looking at reality. And actually, everything I do now is all about helping people to invoke that brain change without going through the stress. And the way you do that is by reaching these ecstatic states. Okay, the ecstatic bliss states, without substances, without narcotics, without anything like that, just using what we already have inside. Okay, all of the biochemical processes inside. So I can tell you a little bit about how I got to this idea. So
the space for it.
This is it, right? So there is in the Vedic tradition, the Rig Veda, this ancient book where the world's oldest religion, thousands and thousands of years ago. Nobody really knows where it comes from.
Yep.
There's a legend called SOMA. The legend of Soma. And Soma was this psychedelic concoction that the rishis would take to reach these ecstatic states where they'd communicate with the gods and have the peak human experience. And there was the golden age of the planet at this time. And then what happened was, according to the legend, the Soma starts to run out. And all of the rishis start freaking out. And the gods basically order them, you must go inwards, because you can't be dependent on a substance, for your bliss. So through this quest to reach these heightened states, they discovered, the Soma within. The Soma within is this, like, you could call it melatonin, serotonin, dopamine, tryptamines. All of the things that make you feel ecstatic.
Anandamide.
And high. And feel like oneness, anandamide, things like this. So it's all of the really good feel-good hormones, the tryptamine. That's why my music's called tripneural, right? It's the tryptamine effect. So basically, through that, they discovered we actually have every single substance already inside us that is found in nature. Okay, we are literally as above, so
which is a deep philosophical realization in itself, isn't it? Yeah.
And right now in the world, we are very dependent on substances.
And everything external as well, for the way society's geared.
Exactly. So what happens is, and you can see this actually in the whole realms of people are going and becoming addicted to like these psychedelic stuff, these plant medicines, because they are looking for something, a form of escape. But I realized that actually we can do all this ourselves from within and have a much more controlled experience. And there's a purpose for this beyond just getting high. And here's what it is. So I was talking about brain change, right? So if you want to change your life, if you want to evolve, if you want to get anywhere, you need to go beyond what our DNA has created so far. We have to activate the DNA, as it were. And they've shown actually in studies now this phenomenon known as directed neurogenesis, is where you self-directed neurogenesis, where you, through the power of intention, will invoke a change in the brain just by using certain visualization techniques. So what they did, they had two groups, right? The first group, they got them to play a piece of music on the piano, all right? The second group, they just got them to visualize the same piece of music and not play it. Just imagining that they're playing the music and playing it, but not actually playing it. And then they measured the brains of the two groups, and they found exactly the same change in the brain through the visualization techniques. But what they also then realized was actually to invoke the greatest change in the brain, to create the state that the brain is most susceptible to transformation, it is the orgasmic state, the ecstatic state. And actually, like orgasm, the state of orgasm is where you're most susceptible to changing your brain and manifesting. So basically, if you look at the esoteric schools, what they've done is they've hidden sexual energy, and they kind of hid it under the secret schools, and at the top of it they call it sex magic. This tradition of basically being able to cultivate sexual energy. Okay, there's a reason why monks don't have sex and they're celibate. It's because they're harnessing this sexual energy and transmuting it for a higher purpose. Okay, if you read Napoleon Hill, right, chapter 11 is all about sex transmutation.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you go into like some of the occult kind of techniques from the Freemasons and things like that, their sex magic is a big part of it.
Yeah.
And I live on now like an island that's known as Tantra Island, Koh Phangan in Thailand.
In Thailand,
where like it's not about having wild orgies. It's not about that. It's actually about cultivating sexual energy and bringing it up and moving it up to the brain. Okay, and this technique that I created is basically based on ancient tantric techniques of harnessing sexual energy, moving it up, and using it combined with intention and emotion to create changes in the brain, cognitive changes in the brain. So you have deeper levels of intuition, concentration, memory, focus, brain power, creativity, and even the ability to manifest and create magic. Like my life has been really weird, like, and bizarre, and anyone who knows me will vouch for it. Like I'm known for creating possibly the most viral article of all time about Coca-Cola. Yeah. Right. So like, what happens 1 hour after you drink a can of Coke? You can check it out by the Renegade Pharmacist. It just blew up the internet. I was on even Fox News did a TV show on it, and CNN. It was on the front page of news.au. Is it the Australian? they had it on their they did a whole feature on it, and I was interviewed by them, like you know, on the phone. It was just wild. It went crazy. I had millions of hits on my site in a few weeks. But it started off because I started playing around with these manifesting techniques of trying to attract things into my life, to call things into my life. And I believe that you can explain it by science.
Sure.
Because I think what you do is you change the brain, okay, where you allow your brain, if you imagine your reality is filtered, heavily filtered by your brainstem. Yeah. Okay, so what you tune into is very much dependent on your thinking, your thoughts. The way you're primed. The way you're primed, your conditioning. So in order to shift that original conditioning, so you can tune your filters into the reality that you want. And if people are like interested in law of attraction, man, and it's not working, it's because their filters aren't clean and they're not tuned. You haven't been primed the way you want to be. So what I realized was actually we can go back, change the filters, okay? And through this process, what happens is we can clear out a lot of the old conditioning and make way for new imprinting. And that's what the higher yoga rituals are about. They realize that our life is basically conditioned between the first 7 years of a life, 0 to 7 years. Yeah. All right? And this dictates our destiny. Yeah. So whether we have free will, it depends really much on whether we have power over this conditioning. So these tools like higher yoga rituals, like breath, these like heavy pranayama techniques, like what I've created, basically get to that root cause of all of the conditioning, and it reprograms it and re-imprints it. And what you can do is, and I mean, I'll give you an example. Like, I would go into a sauna, right, and I would like meditate in this special way using breathing techniques to reach ecstatic states where I'd implant a vision of the reality that I want to create. Yeah. The first game I played along with was to attract this guy into my life called Uri Geller. Uri Geller had there was this documentary on TV about he was the most famous psychic in the world. He was a secret spy for the CIA, Mossad. His best man at his wedding was Michael Jackson. He had this crazy £50 million mansion in the UK. Yeah. And I was like, at this point was when I was really getting into mind power and all these techniques. And I was like, I must manifest this guy into my life because he would add I just want to learn from him, see if this guy's for real. You know what I mean? Like, because it seemed like this was real. So surreal. And it was just there's a whole documentary and the Stanford Research Institute did all these experiments with him, and they were on there, the scientists saying this guy's genuinely psychic. So I was like, okay, if this is for real, because I'm a real skeptic about this stuff. Yeah. Anyway, lo and behold, within a few days, I end up at this guy's house, right? He's like become my mentor, and he's telling me I want to help you with send positive energy for your business. Right? He didn't just bend my spoon, because that's what he was famous for, bending spoons with his mind. The scene in The Matrix with the baby, it's all based on him. Really? He didn't just he bent my whole friggin' reality, right? Because after that, he told me there's only one thing worse than bad publicity, and that's no publicity. So he said, what you need if you want to get taken seriously as a renegade pharmacist is a PR stunt. You need some. So I went along and I started to meditate on attracting PR, publicity. Boom, I create this infographic. I forgot about it. This guy from another site decides to share it. And then suddenly, a few days later, it becomes the #1 trending article on Facebook for 3 weeks.
But you'd already created it.
I'd made it and forgot about it, right?
But after you worked with...
Yeah. And then all this weird shit happens. And then suddenly it becomes the most viral infographic in the world. I'm like, this is insane. This is too crazy.
Yeah.
So then I was like, what else can I test this on? And then this documentary comes on about Wim Hof, the superhuman Iceman. And I'm like, I'm going to do something with this guy. This guy, he's climbed up Mount Everest in his shorts. He's shown scientifically that, you can tap into your physique. He basically has got scientific evidence to prove what I was doing all along, because it's all very similar techniques.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't need to climb up mountains. If I just hang out with this guy,
Connect. Yeah.
I can, we can work together. Boom. I end up, because of that infographic, I ended up at his house. His son invites me to do infographic with him. And we end up forming a band together because he's a rock star musician. I end up doing the entire soundtrack to the Wim Hof method. And we become like best buddies. I host all of his events now. And boom, it's like either I'm just really lucky or I figured out a way to manufacture luck. Because since then what has happened is I've now got amazing friends like Marissa Peer and all these transformative people. We're all working together, learning off each other. And I've been creating these amazing experiences where you go through this guided breathwork process with music. That's what you're talking about. The music really helps along the therapeutic process because music raises vibration, right? And I call it so if imagine this anagram, LOVE, level of, not anagram, what do you call it? Acronym. LOVE, level of vibrational energy, right? Love, right? So my music's all about creating the highest level of vibrational energy, which is love for all, the highest ecstatic states, passion, right?
Yeah.
Love for all. And the lowest love, when there's no love, is like apathy, depression. So all I'm trying to do is, with my technique, is to get people from low mood to high moods, to highest mood they can, so that they can plant suggestions, so that I can sow in some positive vibes into them. And in this state, magic happens. Literally, we've been doing these online webinars, and I get people to do scores between 0 to 10 before how they feel, and then 0 to 10 afterwards. And we're getting 50% or more in the 10 spectrum. And I say to them specifically, be certain, 10 is the most orgasmic, it's better than sex feeling, right? Don't put a 10 unless it's better than sex. Right? and 50% are putting that every time, every time we do it. So I believe, because we both come from that raving culture, it was all about the love, right? It's all about the community, about the tribe. I fully believe that we can create this without the substance, and that's why I believe I've hacked this ancient ritual, SOMA, the origins of Tantra, to create a system where all of us can experience, just even if within minutes, absolute peak states, right, where we can reprogram, re-imprint, recondition, and then transform our lives.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing, because fundamentally what the core of what I took away from that was, initially in the because we're born the most premature species. We're born at 9 months, but we're really underdeveloped when we're born. We can't even walk yet. When giraffes pop out of giraffes, give them about 15 minutes and they're off. They're walking in the savannah, ready to run from a lion to the best of their ability. We can't even walk yet. We're crawling and that sort of stuff. And it takes us. So the theory the explanation is that, we come out in a theta brain state up until the age of 7. Right?
Yep.
So that's the brain state, and so basically we're walking around from 0 to the age of 7, literally in hypnosis.
Yes.
Which is fundamental to our development, right? Because how are you meant to learn what this reality really is? You said, the projection. What do you? but that primes everything going
does.
forward, right? And so I love the wisdom behind, you go down the track and these altered states drop you into different frequencies, whether it's like the theta. The closer you get to your theta, the easier it is to get into that frequency of where you were programmed with a certain condition that didn't serve you. You can then alter that and meet it head on, or shift things that you didn't even know what they were.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I call it charming the snake. So right at the center of the brain is the reptilian brain, right? The most primitive part. We have a lot in common with snakes. And all it deals with is your survival. That's all it cares about, right? And it controls your heart rate, your breathing, your immune system, your temperature, everything on autopilot, right? Now it can also go out of control and become your enemy if you don't learn how to charm it.
Gets viral and just starts.
And the thing, what the thing is that actually influences a snake the most, and I believe it's the biggest disease that's spreading around the world right now, and it probably has done for a long time, I call it FOFO, the fear of feeling out, right? Not FOMO, but the fear of feeling out. The fear of feeling out means, like, what are all the things that people do just to fit into their society, their culture, and how many of those things actually serves your best interests, right? Think about it.
Like minimal.
I know. How many things do we do, like, as kids? Like, I remember, like, I would smoke just to fit in with the cool kids. Even though it's not a cool thing to do, really. Now we know that. But so many things we do that overrides our own instincts to fit in. And that's what the reptilian brain is conditioned to follow, is security. Because if you go back to primal ancestral times, right, which we aren't very far away from in terms of the evolution.
Biological evolution,
So if we were excluded from the tribe, that's it. We're cut off from the tribe, where survival is gone. We'll be in the most excruciating circumstances. So we are biologically hardwired to fit in, to try and fit in to whatever environment we're in. So in order to change, you need to evolve out of that to a point where you've charmed the snake becomes your friend, right? It becomes on your side, right? And then you are much more likely then be able to transition to a community that serves you better, right? And it's usually what people need to do is to wake up, to awaken out of that sleeping trance where the snake and the limbic system, reptilian brain, is very dominant and is constantly being conditioned, is constantly on high alert. We're constantly on a state of anxiety, right? Because we're always on survival mode. And especially in this world where there's so much noise and information.
So much stimulus.
Stress. We're constantly on high alert, and the brain can't tell the difference between emotional stress and physical stress. It's just, everything is stress. So it creates the same physiological changes, right? What's the first thing, actually, when you're born? What's the first stress that you encounter? Very few people know this.
First thing you do is you take a breath.
That's it. Boom. You are super enlightened, man. So, and not many people realize this. The first instinct of survival is, and you hold on to the breath, right, as a baby, and then you let out and you cry, right? That's what babies do. But remember, when you're in the womb, you are totally protected. You're conditioned, by the mother, nurtured, safe. As soon as you're born, you freak out. Okay, you take a big gasp of air. And you're holding on to it for a bit because you're like, this could be the only source of life you're going to have. You almost get to exhale. And this is the problem with instinctively that a lot of people suffer from, and why it causes problems in the physiology is because we hold on to the breath in. A lot of us are like tense like that and holding this. And that's why when we get nervous, we get this tension here. So one of the first things I teach people to do is to let go of this and exhale fully and relax and sigh. And when you breathe out for a longer time than you breathe in, and you keep this going, and this is one of our breathing patterns, I call it the 2-4 rhythm. You do it with beats. You go into this incredible bliss state where you're just at oneness with everything. It's amazing, I know, and we'll be doing it, I'm sure, while we're here. But and that's one of the first things. And when you do that, and that literally starts charming the snake and telling the snake everything's all right, all is well, all is well. And when these little affirmations become incantations. Incantations are like magic spells. That's the old word for magic spell. And when you use words, positive words with emotion and breathing, the right kind of breathing, it's like magic spells. I call them incantations. So this is the formula for SOMA. And this, SOMA also stands for the science of magnetic attraction. This is the way to become like a master of the law of attraction, and all this stuff that they talk about in The Secret and all these things.
And the master of acronyms as well.
That's it.
I love that, bro. I absolutely adore that. There's thank you so much for sharing so much with so much depth to just everything that's woven in there all together. So what I really want to know now is where does this all take you to next? You know, like so the breath you've totally hacked out, you know, and it's like, cool, so we're totally going to work with the breath, and the music with the tripneural. And those that please listen, do yourself a favor, YouTube, work your way over, find yourself tripneural beats. Amazing, right? I remember the first time I listened to it was just like, yo. Yeah, wicked. Like it was just like a whole nother layer of just relaxation.
I call them digital pills. Yeah, man.
That pretty much describes them, digital pills.
Digital Xanax.
And it's amazing that that, you know, over the internet, because I know I'm exposed to a lot of sound healing, and we probably both are. But digital has its own limitations and stuff. But you've really found a beautiful groove in trying to weave that magic into people's lives. And there's two parts to this question. First of all, what do you think were the key characteristics that were, Niraj, that brought you on? You've been through an epic fucking journey that we've just discussed. What do you think were the key maybe values or characteristics was it temperance or resilience or just faith or whatever, and I don't want to put words in your mouth. And then where is this going with all of that as well? What's next on the horizon?
Well, the key learnings for me is persistence, right?
Yeah.
And being able to stand up and be in a confident posture, even when life throws the worst challenge at you, because it will.
Yeah.
And this is what a lot of my focus is. So these go hand in hand. So everything I've learned, all the mistakes, is where my teachings also come from, and my lessons and the stuff I give back. Because that's where you learn the most, is the real hardship, right? Yeah. And that's where through the life's biggest struggles, challenges, like in Islam, they call it the jihad. Yeah. That's where you learn the most about yourself. So I cherish those moments. I don't look back on them with regret. I actually embrace them. So when life throws things at me, I stand up. And using these techniques makes you more resilient to your stress, and allows you, rather than becoming a victim of the stress, it allows you to become in control of it. Yeah. Right, and literally, as I said, you charm the snake. Yeah. And that has conditioned me into this pathway. You know, I've become conditioned through my hardship towards a certain path in my life, which is I want to help people who have gifts, who are creative people, who are suffering because they are maybe feeling trapped in a world that doesn't fully nurture creativity. Yeah. Well, it's got a lot better. When I was in the corporate world, it was so different to it now. Yeah. There's a lot more work being done now, which is helping people. But I really want to help people who feel like they're aliens in society to come and find a safe space to just be themselves and be free. And I have this conspiracy, all right? So the meaning of the word spiritual means to breathe, actually. Spirit is spiritu, is breath, okay, in Latin. Now, inspire means inspired. Inspire means to breathe in. Conspire means to breathe together. So my conspiracy is we create a global community, right? That's what we're already doing, where we all breathe together in a rhythm with beats, right? And when you listen to house music, dance music, any kind of groovy rhythmic music, even drum and bass, whatever it is that you like, even R&B, as long as it's got rhythm in the beat and you breathe in time with it, weird magic happens, man. And if you all breathe in time with each other at the same time, breathe together, crazy magic happens, right? Literally, I do these festivals in Copenhagen. We have 200, 300 people all breathing together in time with this music. And it's like everyone's on ecstasy without taking anything. It's epic. And the love is back. And so my big conspiracy is we spread this through this movement, this somabreath.com site that I got, where we're creating this global movement where we have instructors. They're getting these groups together around the world. We have people in Barcelona, we have people in Thailand right now, we have people in Germany, we have it's spreading all over. I have people in Sweden right now at festivals going around basically spreading SOMA, where it's this Breathe Together campaign. Getting people to breathe together, going back to the ancient
to conspire.
past. Yeah, the conspiracy is to get people to go back to their own medicines, their own substances, their own things from within, to the truth of where a lot of these esoteric ideas came from in the first place, without the dogma. And it always comes back to breath and breathing. And this is what it is. It's the grand.
You just made me want to change the name to Conspired Evolution.
Conspired Evolution, bro. Yeah.
You know, at the very least, what I've decided is I'm going to get you a T-shirt that it doesn't say inspired, but it's going to say Conspired.
I'll wear that all day long. I mean, that is one hell of a brain. That is an evolved brain, bro.
So yeah, that's totally going to happen.
I love it.
So just before we weave out, like, is there any message in your heart that you really want to share with the listeners, bro?
Yeah, so my greatest thing is that I've learned all along is be honest with yourself, always. Like, this is one thing people find it really hard. This comes back to FOFO. Just one exercise now would be, for everyone listening, is have a think about how many things are you doing right now that serves your best interests, right? And how many things are you doing are based on what other people expect you to do? What level of FOFO are you feeling right now? How many things do you do just to fit in?
You know, rather than listen to the honest.
Listen and just be totally honest with yourself. Do you really want to go down a pub and drink all your your sorrows away and forget and wake up with amnesia? Do you really want to do that from the bottom of your heart? I'm sure when you start doing self-inquiry, you'll realize actually no. Like, as part of your brain is screaming, no, this is so bad. Yeah. But another part of your brain is scared, is suffering from FOFO.
Yeah.
So just make a list of these things and start being really honest every day with your feelings and how you feel. Everything will change after that, guaranteed.
I can't tell you how much that message means to me. Thank you so much for sharing that, because I went through depression for about 5 to 7 years, and the key piece to that was my lack of integrity. And as soon as I went to the psychologist, that's when I had my awakening, and she was like, "You'll be sweet. We're just going to make you honest."
Yes.
And at that point, I made a commitment to be honest.
Beautiful.
My whole life changed.
Beautiful.
My whole life changed.
And that's what our process is called. It's called the awakening. It's SOMA awakening, because it basically wakes you up to your truth.
Yeah.
And when you see your truth in front of you, like unraveled in front of you, after one of these ecstatic breathing experiences, you can't help but change.
Well, that's it, right? Like, you can only heal what you reveal, right? So once
heal what you reveal.
So once you've got it, then it's like, cool, now we can work with it.
Yeah.
Such a fundamental piece. But like you said, the FOFO, and like that attracts us, and we keep things hidden in the shadows.
That's it.
You can't really work with that. Man. No. Niraj, thank you so much for your
Amazing,
time
man.
here today, bro. Like, just showing up, and I know, like, we've been weaving, ducking in and out. It's been such a gift. There was the episode before this one where we recorded, and it was beautiful. It was on the beach with the waves. Yeah. And now we're recording one in sunny Thailand. I think it's like, it's almost 10 o'clock. No, it's 8:30 now, but like, it'll still be sunny at 11 o'clock. So it's always good vibes when you're around. Man. So I'm super grateful for your time and your energy and showing up today. But also, brother, like, you know, all the work and that you've put into the person that you are today. Like, you know, showing up in that key piece to persistence, and all the wisdom that, you know, all the junctures that sort of led to like bobbing about, and then also like the clarity of the message that we can share today with such efficacy. Like, I feel really humbled to be able to.
Yeah, and I think everyone has this ability to find that one thing which they would stand up for in court, where they would die for it, where they would. It's a truth. It's either a product, a service, or a lesson, or something. It makes them really believe in standing up for something meaningful that gives back outwardly to the rest of the world and makes it a better place. And when you find that, magic happens.
Here we go.
Yeah, man.
And so now that you've found it, man, blessings on the next piece of the piece, like whatever's coming as well. Just wishing you all the best for that. I've got one lucky last question, and it's my favorite question to ask. It's the question I ask at the end of every episode. And it's esoteric in its nature. Beyond the skin suit, beyond the name, Niraj Naik, beyond all that, who are you?
Who am I? I am. That's a really interesting question. Who am I? How can I say? I talk a lot, right? So to summarize that in one sentence is, I'm honest. That's what I am. I am based on truth, my truth, and it may not be somebody else's truth. It may not resonate with everyone, but I just believe in myself. I believe I'm on a mission, and that's what I stand for. Truth.
That's beautiful, bro. Thank you so much for sharing that. So for those that want to get in touch with Niraj, what's the easiest way to do that?
So go to somabreath.com, and there you'll see our Breathe Together campaign. And you can sign up for this experience. It's free, completely free of charge. We also do every Sunday, we do these guided experiences, again, totally free of charge. You can have a experience, and you can also find out if you want to go deeper and learn more about it through that. But I tell everyone, just do it once for free. It's gonna be.
It's good for you. It's good for you, and it's free, and it's.
That's it. Exactly. So, and then you learn the technique, and you can just do it at home whenever you want.
And there's plenty of pieces that Niraj has shared of his own music and stuff on YouTube as well, which you can totally tap into. But for the breath work and the real deep work that he's really trying to share, that he's passionate about, somabreath.com.
Yeah, and then maybe one time you can come to our festivals in Koh Phangan and check out ecstatic dance parties. And I'm sure Amrit will be beating some drums along with the beats.
Can't wait.
Which will actually be happening in a couple of days. Amazing.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Love it, guys. Tune in. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Love of the Inspired Evolution and sharing the Love of the Inspired Evolution. If you feel like this content has supported you or may support anyone else that you know may resonate with the content of it, please share away and share the love around. Thank you guys so much. And to stay up to date on whatever's coming out with the Inspired Evolution, please subscribe. There's all these links in the bio for you to tune into the episodes and all these different platforms, just so that message can get to you and your loved ones. Thank you so much for all your love and support. Stay inspired to evolve.